We never know where life will lead us or what may hinder us along the way. But while every day can feel like one big question mark, it doesn't have to. With the right insights, strategies, and solutions from Western and Southern Financial Group, together we can look ahead to leave the unknown behind.
Before we get into anything, some big news on the pod.
Yeah.
Some massive news on the podcast. We have elected to be roommates.
Yes.
We're investing in the content. Someone had to do it. Whose call was it initially? Was it yours or mine?
I don't even know who floated it out there. I can't remember now. But it was purely to make this podcast better.
Yeah.
I obviously didn't want to actually live with you.
No.
But for you guys, for the Gators, I said,
I love
bite
Gators.
the bullet to get some better content for you guys.
What do you, so we're moving into a 2-bedroom apartment on the Banks in Cincinnati. It's the same building that you were in, or the same complex that you were in, but just a 2-bedroom now.
Yes.
What are you most worried about? What are you most excited about?
Well, I'm a little worried. I mean, we got a test run over the past week at the Shrine Bowl and the Senior Bowl, and you trimmed the face and the left hair all over. You had the smelliest shoes I've ever seen in my entire
That
life.
was rough. That was rough.
In your defense, you were like on your feet for like 50 straight hours with the red-eye flight. But I think we'll be good. I assume you're clean enough to. I've had some bad roommates in the past. I mean, my college house, literally, we pulled out. We had a dog, and my roommate who had the dog wasn't too attentive to it, and we pulled out one of the couches once, and there was just a line of dog shit behind the couch, and so like the place smelled bad enough that dog shit didn't even like move the needle for it. So yeah, this is you can't be that bad. I've lived in some bad places.
I haven't had a roommate since college, and the last time I did, we threw a party in college, and some chick threw up in the middle of the hardwood floor, and there were so many people there that it just got stamped around and moved around to a point where like it wasn't even cleanable. It just became a part of the apartment or the house that we were in. I'm hoping we don't get to that level, but I am excited. I think our meals could be good. We got 2 air fryers, we got 2 blenders, we got 2 food processors. We could turn into Gordon Ramsay and shit. It should be pretty sweet. Let's get into the coaching buzz now.
Yeah.
Catch an early buzz, starting with all of the coaching hires that we've seen. I want to start with the Chicago Bears. Matt Eberflus, the defensive coordinator from the Indianapolis Colts. The Denver Broncos grabbed Nathaniel Hackett, offensive coordinator from the Green Bay Packers. Brian Daboll of the Buffalo Bills is going from Josh Allen to Daniel Jones with the New York Giants. Raiders obviously hiring Josh McDaniels from the New England Patriots. Kevin O'Connell from the Minnesota Vikings. And then Jaguars, Doug Peterson, some stability in Jacksonville. And then obviously with the Dolphins, they just recently hired Mike McDaniel, the, I think, OC with the San Francisco 49ers, and the Houston Texans today announcing former University of Illinois Fighting Illini legend Lovie Smith. Saints are the only opening with Sean Payton retiring left to go. Your immediate reactions, I want to hear your best hires. I remember last time we did this, you said Urban Meyer was your favorite hire of the offseason. Let's see where you go.
I will say I like the Jays getting Doug Peterson. I don't think that's my favorite hire. I think my favorite hire of the bunch is honestly Mike McDaniel to the Dolphins. I think more the fit with him and Tua. I think that is the perfect sort of system for him to excel in. He's very accurate. He throws with good timing. Yes, he makes some ugly decisions. Like, to me, he's like a more accurate Jimmy G, who, like, if you give him that layup, he's not going to miss it. I think Jimmy G's obviously biggest downfall was too many missed layups in that San Francisco 49ers offense. So, obviously, San Francisco or Miami doesn't have quite the playmakers that San Francisco does, quite the offensive line, but I do think that system is ideal for Tua's skill set. Not a ton of these hires that I'd be too critical of. The only one that I would say is the obvious elephant in the room is Lovie Smith to Texans. Like, this is a dude who was not in demand. It was a surprise that he even got hired as DC in the first place for them. Now, he's culture-wise, leadership-wise, he's a very good head coach. But the Tampa 2, obviously, is out of vogue in the NFL, even though he was still running a lot of it last year with the Houston Texans. And to me, it just screams of they thought they could get a better candidate after, they thought last year was kind of a reset year. But basically everyone else turned him down is what this screams to me. They had Brian Flores in for an interview. I'm guessing, don't obviously have any inside info, but I would be guessing that he turned them down because I don't think anyone in their right mind at this stage in 2022, almost said 2021, is going to go Lovie Smith over Brian Flores. You're just not. You're just not.
I honestly think you're reading the tea leaves right there. I think Brian Flores was probably the lead candidate for this job, and then did not want this gig for whatever reason there in Houston.
I mean, whatever reason. Well, you want to list the reasons?
We can list some reasons, talent and all that stuff. For Lovie Smith, 89 and 87 as a head coach in the NFL, was a head coach at the University of Illinois from 2016 to 2020, then was hired by the Houston Texans in 2021 to be this defensive coordinator. Now is the head coach of the Houston Texans. And it's just a one-year contract.
Maybe they're thinking, hey, we saw what happened when Cliff Kingsbury got fired from Texas Tech. And then goes to Arizona. Let's get another college head coach who failed at a middling program. I struggle to even call Illinois a middling program. I grew up there. No one gives a shit about Illinois football. That's one of the worst programs in the Power 5. But
easy. Brett Bielema's family.
They won't even disagree with that. But Lovie Smith, it's kind of just another punt hire. It's just another punt hire.
I mean, and that's evidence too. They only offered him a 1-year contract, right? They were not long-term committed to Lovie Smith, and the same thing
they offered him to prove it.
But they did the same thing with David Culley, right? I mean, they agreed on David Culley, and then they fire him after 1 year. Now Lovie Smith is only guaranteed 1 year on his first contract.
They might have to tag him after this.
It's rough. It's rough. You hate to see that for the Houston Texans. I think my favorite hire, honestly, this offseason so far is Josh McDaniels to the Las Vegas Raiders. I think bringing in Josh McDaniels, the fact that he was able to also bring in Patrick Graham, defensive coordinator from the New York Giants, I honestly think this Raiders team with Josh McDaniels and Patrick Graham is going to be significantly better, even if their talent only marginally improves. I think they have a lot of pieces there. It's a reason they were in the postseason and nearly beat the Cincinnati Bengals, who are now here in Los Angeles for the Super Bowl. I do think we come away from this hiring rung. I don't even think that's a thing. Hiring cycle with Josh McDaniels and Patrick Graham is two of the best hires. And the only reason I'm not screaming from the top of my lungs that Brian Daboll is my favorite, I just don't love the fit with Daniel Jones. I just don't know how this is going to pan out with Daboll and Daniel Jones. I don't see similar skill sets between him and Josh Allen. Are they going to commit to a new quarterback after 2022? Are they going to try and get a quarterback this year, right? So I think Brian Daboll, a lot of his success depends on the quarterback, and they just don't have an answer there right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree that I like both of those hires. The one I will say, and it's the one we haven't talked about yet, that I'm just very interested to see how it turns out, is the Doug Peterson one with the Jaguars. Because if they had come out after the season, or not even after the season, after they fired Urban Meyer, and 2 weeks later announced Doug Peterson as their head coach, it would have gotten round of applauses. People would have been like, yes, Super Bowl winner, groomed Carson Wentz. This guy knows the quarterback position inside and out. Learned under Andy Reid. This would have gotten rave reviews. Or even if they hired him last offseason, it would have gotten rave reviews. But the process is still a mess there is the problem. And it's, I think, the biggest thing. The fact that Trent Baalke is still in place with Doug Peterson and how that dynamic is going to work out. And if he still remains the GM with kind of even his track record since he's took over, that's been pretty yikes to look at.
Yeah.
That's the worrisome thing, because I don't really have questions about Doug Peterson as coach. I think he's one of the best head coaches in the NFL. Was one of the best head coaches available here. But sometimes organizations and head coaches fail not through their own sort of shortcomings, as we saw with Bill Belichick in Cleveland. Sometimes the organization is still too much to overcome, and I worry about that with that hire there.
One more piece of the catch an early buzz. Kyler Murray of the Arizona Cardinals removes all the Cardinals stuff from his Instagram bio. Am I the only one who thinks this is dumb to even talk about? I don't
like
think this is a big deal. I don't. This is not a big deal.
It's something though. It's not again. Something has happened that obviously hasn't been talked about. I think Michael Jr. tweeted out something that this is probably an elaborate Super Bowl commercial that is in the works.
I like that.
I like that take. But that's
way better than him being so petty that he's contemplating his Cardinals' future and that's the first decision you make.
But I'm saying there's what else? There is something though. Something is going on that is
maybe
with a high-profile player with a team that has not done great by him in a way. He has outperformed the rest of that sort of organization, and I'm just curious to see where it goes. It's just worth bringing up. And I think it could obviously just be contract posturing, too, for heading into year 4 now, he's eligible for an extension, wanting that possibly. But I'm very curious to see what happens.
If that is contract posturing, I am flabbergasted. I'd be embarrassed as an agent or anyone to speak on this in regards to Kyler Murray's thinking about leaving Arizona. Did you see his IG bio where he has 2 posts on his Instagram?
He's deleted all the other ones though.
Oh, really? He had other ones?
I'm pretty sure that's why he deleted.
It's under construction. I think it's a marketing play. If this is an Arizona Cardinals, he's getting a new contract. I think it's dumb. This is dumb. Okay. Let's get off this catch and early buzz and get to our presenting sponsor. It's actually DraftKings. The moment we've been waiting for since September is finally here. In honor of the big game, DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 56, is giving new customers 56-1 odds on either team. Bet just $5 and get $280 in free bets if your team wins. DraftKings Sportsbook is now live in New York, meaning you can bet from almost a third of the country. If Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, play DraftKings Daily Fantasy Football Contest for Super Bowl 56. New customers can get a free shot at $1 million top prize with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code PFF and get 56-1 odds on either team. Bet just $5 on get $280 in free bets if your team wins. That's promo code PFF at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 56. 21 years or older. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. For a full list of requirements and state-specific responsible gambling resources. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
DraftKings needs to, after the DraftKings read, they need to come off more draft props. All we got is the number one overall pick.
Yeah,
I need where guys are going, over unders, how many wide receivers. Get on your shit draft.
I made a lot of money betting props last year, draft props. I think betting like who's going 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. You can do a lot of that stuff, and you'll get like plus 70, plus 700, plus 750 odds on guessing the exact picks in order, even just for 3 or 4 slots in the draft. I do think I am excited for that. You know what we also need? Is Ohio to legalize sports betting. Yeah. I'm gonna cry myself to sleep every night. And same with LA. LA's not all that great. There's no sports betting here. You hate to see it. Let's get into Daniel Jeremiah's latest big board. We love reacting to Daniel Jeremiah's big board.
Just saw him outside.
How's he doing?
He said, Boye Mafe. That's all he said to me.
I'm a huge Boye Mafe fan. I remember, I talked to PJ Fleck when we were at the East West Shrine, we were at the Senior Bowl, and he said Boye Mafe is going to prove why he needs to be considered in the first round this week. And he has. I don't know if we're getting that point right, but I do think he proved that he's a lot better than maybe people thought going into the week.
I was going to say he definitely is, because DJ didn't have him top 50 here.
Oh, wow.
Doesn't have him in his top 50, and afterwards he said he's first rounder, which Boye Mafe did play lights out. If we didn't talk about Jermaine Johnson on the Winners Pod, it would have been Boye Mafe, because he was great. Daniel
Jeremiah of NFL Network, a big friend of the show. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at MoveTheSticks and check out his work. Where I wanted to focus on first was his viewpoint on the offensive tackle class. Mm-hmm. Right now, he has Ike Ekwonu, the number 1 offensive tackle, and the number 2 overall player on his draft board. And then right after him is Evan Neal of Alabama. Those are his 2 top tackles. Then there's a massive gap in his big board until you get to the next few. Trevor Penning at 25, the Northern Iowa offensive tackle who was beating everybody to a pulp at the Senior Bowl. Bernard Ryman of Central Michigan at 28, and then Charles Cross of Mississippi State at 29. Am I crazy to say that's the lowest I've seen anyone rank Cross?
That's the lowest I've seen anyone rank
Easily the lowest I've seen anyone rank Cross.
Because, we're not going to talk about Seth Galina's mock draft on this show, but we can bring it up in that he had him going number 1 overall. He loves Charles Cross. Yeah. He has him as OT1. I'm not going to say who is OT1 on the upcoming PFF draft board that's going to drop next week, that we'll talk about next week, but it's not going to be Evan Neal. I'll just say that.
Really?
It is going to be someone else, and it's not going to be Ike Ekwonu either. So you can then guess from there who it's going to be. But
wow.
I think it's interesting how greatly he has these tiered. He has a clear delineation between Ekwonu, Neal, and everyone else.
Yeah.
And I don't personally see it that way. Putting those guys 2 and 3 gives you kind of the impression that those are elite,
blue chip,
and I think it's also indicative of the class that there's not a lot of guys that are. We've talked about this shit ad nauseum by now, that the class doesn't have the blue chip talent that we have in normal classes. But I also don't think those 2 tackles, like I said, it's a very good tackle class. I don't think those 2 tackles should be talked about, or really any of the tackles in this class should be talked about in that Penei Sewell, Tristan Wirfs, Andrew Thomas sort of air.
My first reaction to this is honestly Jeremiah, who's much more connected to the league than we are and talks to a lot of sources in the league. He knows something on Cross that we don't, right? Because even if you don't have Cross as your OT1, having him below guys like Penny and Raymond, for me, is a bit rich, unless there's something that we haven't seen, right? Because the tape, from a pure tape perspective and how much sample size you've seen him playing all those pass blocking reps at Mississippi State, I'm floored that he is this low. I personally don't see it this way either. Maybe I don't have him over Neal, maybe not over Ekwonu, but Charles Cross, in my opinion, is one of the top 10, top 12 players in this draft.
Yeah, Ekwonu and Neal have freaky traits, I will say, in terms of athletic ability. With Neal, obviously talking about 350, and the way he moves to that size, rare. Ekwonu, the power he plays with, rare. Cross doesn't have that, but to me, he kind of has that the comp in the draft guide for him was Laramie Tunsil, because just across the board, good. No weaknesses to his game, really, in what he can do physically. Like with Evan Neal, we've talked about his balance. With Ekwonu, we've talked about his feet. And that those guys have, like, glaring issues on tape. With Cross, there's not really any glaring issues. And I think that's what I covet more at the tackle position, because you don't need utter dominance. Like, the freaks of nature, you don't necessarily need that. You just need across-the-board competency. And I think that's what Cross has, that more so than any other tackle in this class.
We're going to bounce around a little bit back and forth between Jeremiah's top 50 and Mel Kiper's top, I think, 32 in his positional rankings, how he sees the offensive tackle class, which I think will be, or I thought was, the national consensus or media consensus, is Evan Neal, Ekwonu, and Cross as the top 3 tackles. Yeah. Have them in which order you want, right? Do you want Cross, Neal, Ekwonu, Ekwonu, Neal, Cross, whatever it may be. Then he has, all the way down at 7, Bernard Raymond, behind guys like Nicholas Petit-Frere of Ohio State and Daniel Faalele of Minnesota. That is a ranking, even with some of the whiffs that we saw at the Senior Bowl, where he didn't look like the best offensive tackle there. I feel like that's just too low.
Which one?
Ryman below Faalele and Petit-Frere.
Yes. This was obviously before the Senior Bowl, too, his rankings. An interesting thing I found out at the Senior Bowl, not to get off Raymond, because obviously I love Raymond, talked about him a lot, but it's about Nicholas Petit-Frere, in that he was eligible to go and opted not to go to the Senior Bowl. Didn't want to go to the Senior Bowl, thought he put enough on tape, which blows my... That's worrisome to me, because if anyone listening to this probably watched Michigan-Ohio State, and anyone who watched Michigan-Ohio State probably knows he didn't put great tape on that game. Like, he didn't do necessarily enough against top competition in my eyes. And obviously the Penn State game as well against Arnold Mckinney was rough for him, to where you can just opt out of the Senior Bowl and think you're going to be going first, second round. I do worry about that for him.
I think it's fair to point out that this was done before the Senior Bowl for Mel Kiper Jr. I think you could see
both of them.
Yeah, you could see Raymond get above Frere and Faalele after that week. And I think another thing too, Andrew Stuber, the Michigan offensive lineman, he has ranked as his 10B offensive tackle. I don't think I saw him play a lick of tackle at the Senior Bowl, mostly exclusively playing guard. So he probably kicks into guard.
I do love how he goes top 10s, and then he never had like an 8B, 8A, 8B. But all of a sudden, when it got to 10, you go ABC. It always gets
to 10A, 10B. You got to get the names in there. Get the names in there. I'm going to flip back to Daniel Jeremiah's board. I'm going to look at the cornerback class. I think this is another, fascinating area of this draft class and how people see it. There are a lot of people getting on this train that Derek Stingley Jr. of LSU is not the cornerback 1 in the 2022 NFL draft, and it's in fact Sauce Gardner of Cincinnati, hometown Cincinnati guy that's graded so well for PFF, has that insane stat I think everyone and their mother has heard, where he hasn't allowed a touchdown in his college career. He has him as the number 5 overall player, the cornerback 1 on his board. Doesn't get till Stingley as his cornerback 2 at number 12 on the board.
That's going to be like, you probably were too young for this, but Bryant McKinney coming out of Miami. I think he started 3 years at Miami. What was that, the 03 or 04 draft? All you heard about that draft, never allowed a sack in his college career. Never allowed a sack in his college career. No, like that was just every time they bring up McKinney, never allowed a sack in his college career. That is going to be Ahmad Gardner this draft season. Never allowed a touchdown in his college career.
It's true.
And obviously competition level plays a little bit of a factor into it, but like he was good from the rip. He was like year 1 freshman for Cincinnati, dominant. So same thing with Derek Stingley. To me, Stingley's kind of the more translatable all-around athlete. That's why he's cornerback 1 for us. But it's like, dude, Sauce Gardner's a damn good prospect. You're depending on your scheme, you can cover him. If you had him CB1, I wouldn't argue with you. These top 3, Gardner, Stingley, McDuffie, honestly, just take one of those guys. I think they're all worthy of top 10 picks. McDuffie's not going to be everyone's cup of tea with his size. Height thresholds isn't going to meet everyone's, but he ticks every single box athletically that you could possibly imagine, to where I'm not worried. Like I said, the comp for him that I've given is Jair Alexander, and that he's just that elite of an athlete to make up for whatever sort of size concerns you may have.
I'm interested to see how long his arms are, because if he does can kind of clear this 30-inch threshold on the outside. Just
looking at him, I would say he definitely clears 30 inches. He doesn't have that T-Rexy-ish body.
That, look up and down.
You gotta see where it hits on mid thigh. You gotta see him standing up. Is he like?
How long do I have?
Is he getting right to like his cheeks? Is he still covered, or is he below cheeks? If you're on cheek, you probably have less than 30-inch arms.
And which tape angle do you look at that on? Is that broadcast?
All 22. You're going to have to use the all 22.
I get you. Sauce Gardner, quarterback 1 for Daniel Jeremiah. And then at 12, he has Derek Stingley. At 13, Trent McDuffie. And where I thought these other big names would be going ahead of this next guy, I'm surprised he has at 22 his cornerback 4, the other Washington corner, who, when I got, and it's Kyler Gordon, another athletic freak coming out of Washington, that Jimmy Lake freaking monster, generating a ton of cornerback talent out of there. When I talked to Trent McDuffie early in the offseason, or I think earlier this season, the only person we talked about the most is probably Kyler Gordon, right? He thinks Kyler Gordon is more athletic than even he is, and I think you can see that on tape as well. I think Kyler Gordon maybe isn't, again, another player that's not everyone's cup of tea, but the fact that he has him over Andrew Booth Jr. of Clemson, Roger McCreary of Auburn, Kyrie Elam of Florida, guys that I think we've consistently seen mocked at the back end of the first round, I do think gives Kyler Gordon, the freak out of Washington, some proper praise.
Yeah, so it was like McDuffie played on the outside, whereas Gordon would flip inside in some games. And I think they liked how he played against the run. He's a physical dude at that size and very athletic. To me, coverage, sort of just pure coverage skills, he's not near the top of the guys in his class. But he is a very, like you said, elite athlete. And like you see the reps where he can do it. To me, he's probably a better version of Kevin King coming out.
Yeah.
In that Kevin King tested off the absolute charts. But you kind of watched him, and it's probably better to say the more physical version of Kevin King coming out, where Kevin King is just like elite athlete, but just like no physicality to his game at Washington. I think Kyler Gordon has a little bit more of that you need to play corner in the NFL. You can't just be a finesse dude at corner unless you are, even a more elite athlete than Kyler Gordon is. You got to be the top of the top to be that guy.
Mel Kiper's cornerback rankings are a bit chalkier, kind of the usual suspects up top. Derek Stingley Jr. of LSU his cornerback 1, Ahmad Sauce Gardner at 2, Andrew Booth Jr. at 3, McDuffie 4, McCreary 5, Kyler Gordon 6, and then Elam 7. A cornerback I want to talk about once before we get to the other parts of this mock, or the other parts of this big board, is actually Tariq Woolen of the Senior Bowl. We talked about him a little bit on the previous class. Jim Nagy tweeted out something about he had clocked the fastest mile per hour time of any, player in attendance there at the Senior Bowl. Talking to his agent says he runs in the low 4.3s, high 4.2s, but he's 6'3", 205.
Yeah.
Is he actually, like, if he runs even high 4.3s, low 4.4s, he will be wildly coveted by these defenses that chase length and chase size at the cornerback position. Again, 6'3", 205, 33.5-inch arms. That is stupid if he tests also very fast in the 40.
You know what's the biggest red flag for me about Tariq Woolen? That he didn't play wide receiver.
Wow.
Like, you're talking about a guy who is prototypical size, length, speed, like movement skills. Like, you don't have to do much in terms of coordination to play wide receiver. Like, it just is a little worrisome that he is not, like, you get worried about the guys who are not good at football.
Yeah.
Despite being that caliber of athlete, or it's like too rare of an athlete. It's like, why? There's got to be a reason why. And he had, like, I think we talked about this last week. He had nice reps, but he also had some like disaster reps against what we said was not great wide receiver talent there down in Mobile.
Before we get to reactions for Jeremiah and Kiper on this quarterback class, going to shout out 2 presenting sponsors of the Tailgate Podcast. Tailgate Podcast is sponsored by Western Southern Financial Group. While you focus on your roster moves, Western Southern helps advance your money moves. Buying your first home, planning to start a family, wondering how to make your money grow? Western Southern's playbook of life insurance, investment, and retirement solutions helps you rest assured on game day. Team up to understand needs and address goals with a game plan built just for you. Get started at westernsouthern.com/PFF. And also, now, through the Super Bowl, use promo code SUPER25 for 25% off any PFF subscription. That gets you the draft guide. That gets you all of PFF's locked article content, NFL and NCAA Green Line, the player props tool, fantasy draft guide for next year. Go get your PFF subscription, 25% off with promo code SUPER25. The quarterback class is falling for a lot of people. Only quarterback in Daniel Jeremiah's top 32 is Kenny Pickett of Pittsburgh. Every other quarterback listed at 34, 35, and 36 in the order of Corral, Willis, and Howell. And you were talking to him before. He said he's not taking any quarterback in the first round.
That's insider information. He feels similarly to how I feel in that I don't think you want to draft one. Like, I don't see the massive difference between some of these guys as prospects to where it's like, do you want to take Malik Willis at 11, or do you want to take, who will be there like in the second round, whether it's Desmond Ridder at the middle of the second round if you're Washington. Like, that's a massive gap in probably any other position, and those guys just aren't that different on anyone's draft board right now, and truthfully shouldn't be that much different on anyone's draft board because they haven't separated themselves or played that quality of football or shown that level of consistency. There's just not a lot to buy into, and it's going to come down to development with literally every single one of these guys. These are red shirt type of guys, probably the most, I don't know, maybe NFL ready. We talked about Ritter, but even he's 207 pounds. The dude's a stick, needs to get bigger physically. Like, there's a lot of guys that need to improve in a lot of different ways, and I love that he kind of punted on it in his rankings and goes, yeah, he had Pickett at the top, but then he goes Corral, Willis, Howell, 34, 35, 36 in the draft board. Just basically saying, like, they're right. They're all the same. Like, basically what I kind of just said about these guys are all whatever that, again, it's going to come down a lot to scheme you run, how you feel about their interviews, how you feel about them fitting into your culture, whatever. But again, I don't want to be the one to use that valuable pick, even if it's not a super strong class.
Despite that lack of talent, right? And we've talked about it a ton about the lack of talent in this quarterback class. I still think at least 2, probably 3 come off the board in the first round. I mean, with team needs, the New Orleans Saints in desperate need of a quarterback, Washington maybe looking to add a quarterback. There's going to be teams that are going to push for this 5th-year option and pick up one of these quarterbacks. I think 2 or 3 go in the first round.
But I also said, like, there's developmental tools here. Like, you still want to, if you don't have a guy, you still want to get a guy because you want, if you are, so say you're the Saints, like you're good enough roster that you're never going to get the guy. Like, if there is one that is going to come out, you're never going to get him. So you want a guy in the fold. You don't want to throw him to the fire. It's kind of the bigger thing. You don't want to get a guy thinking he's going to be your QB1 for the foreseeable future. You want to go get a guy in terms of like a long-term investment. Like, this is a guy who's going to be on the bench for 1 year, possibly 2, that you can hope you can mold into the guy of the future. But that's really it to me.
I'm not of the opinion that Kenny Pickett has this healthy lead over a Corral, Willis, and Howell either. I'd almost, if you're going to bundle up Willis, Howell, and Corral, unless you're like banking on Pickett being able to come in and play now, and that's why you're putting him ahead. I like the tools of Corral, Willis, and Howell, maybe even Ritter over Pickett if I'm picking Pickett inside the top 20 and able to find these guys in the second round.
I agree. Like, I think Pickett could possibly have one of the higher floors in this quarterback class, but
purely from playing a lot of football.
Exactly.
And he's one of the few quarterbacks that played at a high level in the ACC, right? He played at a high level, and Howell did it as well, right? Howell did it as well in the year prior, but everyone kind of souring on him after he lost all of his tools. Not all of his tools, but all of his talent there at UNC. He has all of his tools.
My toolbox.
I don't know. I think I'd be stunned if Pickett is the first quarterback off the board at this point.
I agree, especially with the hand size. Like, you have to be chasing. In this class, I would rather chase the 3 guys who have the best tools, which is Matt Corral, Sam Howell, Malik Willis. If I want to draft quarterback in this draft class, those are the guys I'm chasing. The other guys, Ritter, Pickett, I think can be solid quarterbacks. I don't think you're chasing too much high end with either, though.
Any other notables from Daniel Jeremiah's top 50? I know you had some other names listed.
The 2 I wanted to highlight that are kind of actually, I want to highlight 3 that are kind of non-valuable positions. One's Quay Walker, Georgia linebacker, a guy we haven't talked about much. Comes in at 31 on the draft board for Daniel Jeremiah. To me, he reminds me too much of a Jamin Davis. And he almost like outlines it himself in the write-up here, where he said, in zone coverage, he doesn't have great anticipation, which right there, it's like linebackers like zone coverage anticipation is like 95% of your job in coverage. And he calls him a run and hit linebacker, but he's 240 pounds. Like, a run and hit linebacker is usually your 220-pound guy.
Yeah.
You don't want the 240-pounder. You want that to be your take-on. So, like, there's, like, a lot of kind of oddities in Quay Walker's profile to where you're a linebacker that high, whatever. I think that might be a guy who, like we highlighted with Tutu Atwell on his first board last year, we're like, that might be a guy that drops down by subsequent boards. The other one's Isaiah Spiller at 33. To me, the running back out of Texas A&M, to me, he just doesn't have the sort of athletic profile of a running back you just put that highly. Like, I think he's going to be like a 4.6 guy, middling sort of testing, good size, whatever, breaks tackles not elite tackle breaker, but it's just like that guy's not in my opinion, to put a running back that highly, he better have some high-end traits. I don't see it with Isaiah Spiller. And then lastly, Isaiah Likely. He has his top 50, the Coastal Carolina tight end. Yeah, we've called, glorified wide receiver. Didn't even inline block for the Chanticleers. I don't think he took on a guy at the line of scrimmage all year long. And looked good as a receiver. Probably him and Trey McBride was probably one at the Senior Bowl in terms of receiving ability. He looked like number 2, clearly. And, has that potential. But I think a lot of teams, at least early on in his career, aren't even going to treat him as a tight end. It's they're just going to match and nickel, and you're not going to get a run blocker, even though he has the want to. So I think that's another guy that might just be lower throughout the process, depending on how he goes to combine and tests in terms of size and speed, whatever.
Also gave Jalen Tolbert some love, put him at 43, the South Alabama receiver. You could see him probably rising after what was a really good Senior Bowl for him. And I thought
that was notable. I'm not. That's not one where I'm vastly disagreeing, but that's about as high as I've seen someone on Jalen Tolbert.
Yeah. The other thing I'd add is this is one of the few draft classes I can remember in recent memory that people are not putting a running back consistently in the first round. You're not seeing running backs mocked at the back end of first rounds consistently. You had him here, Isaiah Spiller, the 33 ranked player, and he's also ranked ahead of his QB2.
And he's ranked ahead of Kenneth Walker. That's RB1 from no Kenneth Walker in his top 50.
Oh, wow.
Which blows my mind.
Running back probably going to be a day 2 position here in 2022. Before we get to the Delete the Tweet and the Power Ranking segment here on Tailgate Live from Los Angeles, last sponsor here, Manscaped. Roses are red, violets are blue. Don't let a wild pube wreck you. Valentine's Day is just around the corner, and our sponsors at Manscaped are here for you with the best tools to get your balls ready for the special occasion. It's V-Day. It's time to join the 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped, including Mike Renner and myself and our producers, the leaders in below-the-waist grooming. With an exclusive offer, go to manscaped.com and use code PFF for 20% off plus free shipping. If you're going into Valentine's Day and you're bushed up, down low, it's not going to work, okay? It's not going to work. The holidays went by so quickly.
You better trust your game.
Exactly. And your game's only going to get you to a point, right? There's also this shutdown opportunity once the beast is released. The holidays went by so quickly. Did you remember to take care of your package with the best tools for the job? The Performance Package 4.0 from Manscaped is just the thing every guy needs in their life to make each and every day just a little more special. I'd like to propose making February 13th the national holiday is National Shave Your Balls Day. Who's with me? I think this is one holiday that men and women can get behind. Get 20% off and free shipping with code PFF at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with Manscaped with code PFF at manscaped.com. Join Cupid and shoot your arrow with Manscaped this Valentine's Day. Now that we're living together, we can even split up. We can share.
Nope.
No?
That's not how that works.
Just in case mine gets dull, I'm grinding the tape.
If you need one, my bathroom is off limits.
That's fair. That's fair. Our bathrooms are split.
Yes.
But I'll sneak in a couple blades though, a couple of Manscaped blades. Let's get to the Delete the Tweet.
I already saw. Okay, I don't even know if I want to say this, but I already saw in the bathroom where was it? In Mobile.
Yeah.
The soap had a rogue pube on it that I was just not touching that soap. There was a bar of soap that had a long something on there.
You don't know if that's a pube though.
I don't
there
know.
was no shampoo in
I was
going to
say, I guess it could have easily been your chest.
I used it on my head.
We have different amounts of chest hair, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's true. Do you shave your chest hair?
Sometimes I Manscaped.
I've always been a hairy guy. That's why I have Manscaped. That's why they're sponsoring the show.
That's why I look like I'm boy still.
All right, delete your tweet segment. If you're new to Tailgate, we highlighted a tweet that either Mike or myself has tweeted in the past that we probably should have deleted on send. You go ahead and go first.
Yeah, I was going deep back through old ones. Back when I had no one reading my stuff.
Oh, I love this guy too. I was a big fan.
And this wasn't just this. This was back from April 29, 2016. Day 2 of the NFL draft. And I was giving the Bears, I'll read it. Bears draft is straight crushing it.
That's the worst.
One sec. Even if Bullard can't rush the passer, he can do this versus the run. There's a clip of Jonathan Bullard, the Florida defensive tackle, making a pretty nasty play against the run. Now, that was their 3rd pick of the draft. Their first pick of that draft was Leonard Floyd. Their 2nd pick was Cody Whitehair, who I liked a lot. That was probably why I said they're straight crushing it. And then the 3rd was Jonathan Bullard. And they objectively did not straight crush it. That was one of Ryan Pace's masterpieces in that he got almost zilch out of those first 3 picks. Cody Whitehair, solid center / guard, but definitely not, if that's what you're hanging your hat on with picks 9, 56, and 72. You did not straight crush it.
I was a big Jonathan Bullard fan as well. I wouldn't say what.
I said I know. I was, too. I don't know what happened.
I wouldn't say the Bears draft is straight crushing it. Did you go like this when you tweeted that?
I said, yeah, boys. And the
Bears
shotgun.
draft is straight crushing it. Meet me at the banks. All right. My delete the tweet was from April 27th, 2019. Kind of recent. Not a lot of people liked it. Ooh, Danny Kelly, who's sitting over there from The Ringer, replied to this and said, yep, really liking Philadelphia and the Indianapolis drafts. Let's go. I said, Andre Dillard at number 22, Miles Sanders at number 53, and J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, I typoed this, but a different pick. Still reached on running back a little bit, but this Eagles draft, still pretty sexy. Love all three of those players a lot.
All right, which one's worse? Still crushing it, straight crushing it, or pretty sexy?
I think yours is worse because it's barely even like legible. Mine is worse because it's just totally not something I'd say. Like I would never say like sexy like that. But Danny Kelly replied, so all is well. All is well. If you ever see some tweets that we need to delete, please send them in to Tailgate. Our DMs are open on Twitter, Instagram, etc. Let's power rank. This is a new segment on Tailgate. If you're new to Tailgate, power ranking something in the football era.
This is like the most ubiquitous podcast segment in existence.
I love this.
I know. I know.
Great. I came up.
You came up with it. Yeah. I'm just saying.
All right. This is
what
ranking,
we're going to start doing.
Ranking how upset you'd be based on the number of pubes you'd see in your sink. Now that we're back and living together.
One
is the worst, or a bushel.
Any number over one ranks at number one.
We're gonna have to power rank worst roommate behavior.
Okay.
Next pod. Worst roommate behavior.
That's one for like 6 months in.
Yeah,
about
like
what's
that.
getting on.
I like that. I like that. No, I'm just saying in general. Like, what's the worst thing a roommate could do? Yeah. I remember I got my eggs stolen a couple times. Where people are like, you have like a dozen eggs or whatever in the fridge, and then you go in like you only got 6 left. It's like, who the fuck is taking my eggs? Or like they'll take a little scoop of your protein powder, or a little strip of your milk. I hate the little stealing because it's hard to catch it, right? Mm-hmm. It's not as big as like, hey, someone drove my car to the grocery store, as much as like, no, I can tell you guys are out here fucking grinding, or my laundry detergent or whatever.
The maddest I was going back to my roommate who had the dog, who again was not the most attentive with this dog. It was a little mini dachshund, and so like it just poops and pees all the time. And so that was kind of like thing. It's like he wasn't home enough to really give it the attention. It was a puppy. So potty training it, whatever, didn't go well. The most probably upset I ever was in the middle of the night, and I had like been studying. It was like I had something the next day. I can't even remember what it was.
Just crushing it.
I'm walking to the bathroom like 4 a.m. and I just stepped full foot on a dog turd. And I was like about to just kill. I'm like, I would have killed it. It was right there.
My
I would have killed my roommate.
Also had a dachshund, and it peed all the time. It was a fucking disaster.
They're grimy.
It would pee anytime someone walked in. It was like so excited. It would just like piss itself. It's like,
did I ever tell the story about how the dog came on me?
Can we save that for the Wednesday?
Okay, we'll save that one for the Wednesday
Save that for the cold open on Wednesday, please. Right. I need that.
Yeah, I'll say that one.
I need that. But let's tease that one in. Add that to the doc. Power ranking. This is what we're actually power ranking. Super Bowl venues. Now, this is where you feel the best place would be to hold a Super Bowl. The week included, right? People don't realize it's more than just a game. The week included, everyone kind of comes out, food vendors, all that shit. The week included. I'll start. Number one, it hasn't happened yet, but when it does, it's going to be lit, I'm sure. Las Vegas.
See, I couldn't put that because it hasn't happened yet.
The Las Vegas Super Bowl is going to be insane. Like, legitimately insane.
Okay. I mean, I know it will.
We were there for the East-West Shrine Bowl, and it was nuts. It was nuts.
I mean, you're
right. It's going to be
expensive,
You're
though.
Correct. If you factor in cost,
yeah,
it's going to be a nightmare. But I think Vegas is going to be lit.
You are correct.
Crushing
okay.
it even.
Here's my one. It's going to straight crush it. All right, my number one, I didn't include Vegas. I haven't included
This
LA.
is the worst number one I've ever seen.
Okay. Arizona.
What?
Cost of stuff, not bad. It's played on turf, played on actual natural grass, in a retractable dome, in a weather city that's going to be fantastic in February. Never rains. Scottsdale is out of this world.
Out of this world? Have you been to Vegas?
I'm just saying, there's a lot to like about Arizona. It's very underrated.
I'm interested. The Gators have done a good job in the YouTube comments commenting on who they feel wins.
Yeah.
I think you won one of the first power rankings. I won the second.
Yeah. The Super Bowl food items, I definitely won.
Yeah, I think you did. I hated on the meatball stuff. But my number two, and we share a number two, so we can just kind of steal here, New Orleans. Mm-hmm. I've never been to a New Orleans Super Bowl, but I have been to New Orleans multiple times, and every time it's fantastic. The food, unique and fantastic. The Bourbon Street, but in addition to Bourbon Street, Frenchman Quarter, Frenchman Street, also fantastic. The drinking scene. Huh?
It's called the French Quarter.
No, but there's also Frenchman Street.
Oh, okay.
Frenchman Street is like this like local place where they only play like live jazz. You don't know New Orleans, bro. Like I know New Orleans. But no, New Orleans number 2. I think I haven't been for a Super Bowl, but I think that would be a sweet one.
It is just it's built for big
events. Yeah, it's built for events.
Parties. Like basically it is a party. So, yes.
Last one here. And this one I don't know. I'm splitting hairs between some of the other facilities or venues, but I like Miami. South Beach for the Super Bowl. I know Eric Eager, who's sitting over there, went to the Super Bowl a couple years ago and said Miami was sick. I mean, how Miami, you can kind of get a theme here. Miami, Vegas, New Orleans. I want to party. We want to party when we go to the Super Bowl. It's kind of obvious.
Yeah, I don't know if my number 3 is great, but Dallas.
Dude. The Gators are going to hate this list.
Gators going to hate this
Arizona,
list.
New Orleans, which we share, and then Dallas.
Yeah.
Nice.
Dallas, underrated city, and also it's like the complex is unbelievable. That's SAR. It is. So,
fair enough.
There you
fair
go.
Enough.
There's my top 3.
That's going to do it for the Monday
and
episode.
I'll just throw in never cold weather. Minnesota, Indy, New Jersey, terrible venues. Indy, national championship game. Awesome national championship game, whatever. And it is a good host city for things.
Yeah.
Not going to hate on Indy.
Great.
I like Indy. But people were rolling out of that stadium, Georgia fans, and it was more Alabama fans, into 15-degree weather, wanting to just end it all right there. And I was about to actually go a little dark with that and probably will stop, but that is not what you want. Like, you want to, to lick your wounds, you want to have good weather, go out, drink yourself to sleep. If you just had a tough L.
Kind of like you did with the Notre Dame Cincy game.
Exactly.
We came out of Notre Dame Cincy on a tear.
Yes. You do not want to go out into the ice. That's just the worst way to go. So, all right. That's
going to do it for this episode of Tailgate. Make sure you reach out, subscribe, rate, and review the podcast wherever you find your podcast. Also follow along on YouTube. We're going to be in LA all week, turning out a ton of content. I'm excited for it. Until next time, Austin Gayle, Mike Renner, still crushing it. Straight crushing it. Tailgate.